You're now listening to Durian ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing.
Anything can happen Friday. The art and cultural side of Southeast Asia. Hello, welcome back to Durian ASEAN. You're with Gowri
and Grace.
And this is, of course, your Anything Can Happen Friday. And for today, we will be discussing a very interesting event that's happening this weekend. And actually, it has already kicked off today. And we're talking about the CAFFA 2015, which is happening in Publica.
Yes.
And we will be focusing on one of the events, which is the art project at White Box. And we have two guests in the studio at the moment to talk about how they are involved in the art project at White Box under the CAFFA Fair 2015. And we have UC Lo, who is with the Artemis Art Gallery and is also a supporting partner of CAFFA 2015. Right, and we also have Rasyid, who is a visual artist and emerging and successful visual artist who has also joined us today. So perhaps we can start with Haris. Tell us a bit about your background and your work as an artist. What have you been doing so far?
Well, I've only been a full-time artist only 2 years ago. After graduating from the One Academy and the diploma in illustration.
All right.
Yeah, so I consider myself a mixed media artist, where I use a lot of mediums at once. It can be color pencil, watercolor on wood, or paper, or canvas. I like to use all of them.
All right.
Yeah.
And then usually, what kind of inspiration do you get from?
Mostly nature and animals. Yeah, I'm very heavily inspired by those. I love to watch Nat Geo, everything. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I guess you're quite an expert when it comes to zoology.
Visually, I guess.
All right.
And you, of course, a Malaysian, but you have done a lot of other work outside of Malaysia as well.
No, I haven't.
No? Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe you can tell us a bit more about your work then. What have you done so far? What are some of your achievements that you've received for your work?
Because first of all, my solo show earlier this year in March called Beauty in the Beast. I've done
Beauty in the Beast.
Beauty in the Beast, a twist of words there, yeah. And I've organized a group show under a studio that I founded called Studio Mekar. From last year, we did a group show at the New Straits Time Gallery called Untamed Bloom, and we're doing another one in next month, October, at Black Box. With 20 artists this time. It's getting bigger.
Artists.
Yeah, it's getting bigger. Yeah.
So are you going to be the youngest among them?
Wait, let me see. I think so, yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
And then you'll be displaying all your artwork.
Yes.
And do you, we talked about the inspiration, and you said, you mentioned about the nature and the animals.
Yes.
And you said you have the mixed media.
Yes, mixed media.
Yes.
Yeah.
So can you define more about that? I mean, do you only paint or you do also sculpture?
Yes, I do sculptures. I sometimes do street art. Yeah, I've even ventured into like product design, like T-shirts. Anything you could think of, I think I've done it. Yeah. I've even tried. Last year I did kolam for Deepavali at the Publica, and Instagram picked the story up and post it on there. Yeah, and that was like the first time I did.
Right.
Like a big scale kolam. Yeah.
Okay. And would you consider yourself a full-time artist?
Yes,
right now you
I
are.
do. Yes.
And how was that transition? Did you have to have a job before?
Yes, I did. I had a short job.
Okay.
Yeah, as a retoucher, but that didn't last long. I wanted to, more freedom to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you mostly teach and conduct workshops now? What would a day in your life looks like?
Not that interesting, actually. I'm having a class at CAFFA, a watercolor class on Saturday, drawing flowers, because I tend to draw a lot of flowers in my paintings. So that class is full. And I have a Sunday class for children, doing patterns.
Right.
Yeah.
And how are you involved in CAFFA 2015 this year?
I'm holding a class, and I'm also exhibiting under Artemis.
Right.
Yes.
That's awesome. So when you're holding your own workshops, right?
Yes.
So you say you'll be focusing on the drawing flowers.
Yes.
So let me ask you, just give us a little bit hint. What's the most important element if you want to draw flowers? Is it the shapes of it, or is it the color or shades of colors?
I would say when you draw the lines, there has to be like a softness and hardness as well. There has to be softness. It doesn't have to be like consistent. It won't look as natural. Yes.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
brilliant. So I learned something from you today.
And you'll be teaching mostly to kids, or is it?
The
open to
watercolor class
any-
is open to all ages.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. And what do you hope to? What message do you hope to send to these people? Apart from teaching them how to paint, what do you hope
Well,
that they take away from this?
So they'll be more in touch with their art side, so
Okay.
they won't be so afraid to explore the arts and craft. And if they're, because sometimes they might like it as a hobby, but they have a day job, right?
Oh.
Yeah. So this will like, entice the yeah.
So it's also to sort of spur that
Yes,
creativity
yes,
side
yes,
in them.
yes, yes.
Okay.
It could be like a form of therapy as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, for
All
sure.
right.
Yeah.
Well, let's define this properly. So you are a visual artist slash media artist. How should we define?
I'm artist.
You're just
yes,
an
yes,
artist.
yeah.
So when you draw paintings, you mentioned that nature and an animal. But what
Yeah.
kind of messages would you want to deliver via your paintings?
From the solo show I did, it was more focusing on the wild beasts as they are more endangered.
Yep.
Yeah, so it was a way of raising awareness for maybe people
Endangered
overlook.
species, is
Yes,
it?
yes,
Okay.
endangered species. Maybe people overlook that the beauty in these animals. So I try to bring that forth. Yes.
Ah, that's awesome. So that's your main focus, and also.
Yes.
Mhm. And was there any particular place where you had your exhibition that was very memorable for you?
Definitely my solo show lah, because it's
okay.
I really wanted a solo show for a while. Yeah.
Okay.
I must add that this is UC from Artemis. It took him nearly 2.5 years. to
Okay.
prepare for this.
Yeah, I
Yes,
wanted
yes.
to ask that. Yeah.
Yes, I've been preparing. Yeah.
Maybe you can tell us about some of the challenges that you faced along the way.
And also the whole process of how you prepare.
I always had I always had the idea I wanted a solo show back on my mind, so I gradually, slowly prepared for it. I'll have like 1-2 works each month.
Right.
So when I was ready to approach, that's one of the challenges I think for a young artist. It's for galleries to take you seriously and put them under their wing.
Oh,
yes,
right.
yes.
Okay.
So I was lucky enough that Artemis accepted me and gave me a solo show. Yes.
And thanks to Artemis.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, we're
And-
looking forward to seeing his whole the art and the paintings at the event.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, can I add that we are also in the process of planning for his solo show
Yeah.
again next year.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Interesting.
bigger and better.
Yeah,
And where will,
hopefully.
And better.
where will it be held this time?
It will be hosted by Artemis.
Yes, yes.
But I think we want to keep the venue as a secret
As a
right
Yes,
now.
yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, let's just give it a little of a hint there. So Haris Rasyid will have his own solo exhibition next year.
Yes.
So we'll
But
be
maybe you can give
updating.
us a little teaser of what to expect from this one. How is it gonna be different from your first solo show?
This time I think I want to show humanity in animals.
Okay.
Yes, so that's the hint.
That's
Okay.
doesn't want to
Right.
explain anymore.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's try to guess from there.
Okay. So, of course, for you, you said you got involved in this because of Artemis Gallery.
Yes.
And also that they actually took you under your wing. So
Yeah.
maybe we can shift the spotlight to UC for a bit.
Sure.
What prompted you to take on this young boy and help him out with his exhibitions, displaying his works?
Well, actually, I met Haris much earlier, before the show, when he was exhibiting in one of the art bazaars in
Mhm,
Publica.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
I saw his work. I liked it. then I forgot about him. For a while, yeah.
Okay.
Well, Artemis has always we are 3.5 years old gallery, which is an infant in the art industry. We have always had the objective of supporting young and emerging artists, or someone we would classify as outsider artists.
Right.
Okay, outsider artists are people who paint, artists who do not have a formal degree in arts.
Okay.
Yeah, so they don't go to school of fine arts to get a degree in fine arts and things like that. So we have always been supportive of very, very young artists. That's how we set ourselves
Right.
up from day one. Yeah.
So it's mostly self-taught artists.
A lot of self-taught.
Yeah.
Of course, we do not reject anyone who has a degree in art. Yeah.
Okay.
But we find that a lot of young artists like Haris may not get galleries who are keen to
Right.
exhibit their works.
Right.
Yeah. So we find a platform where we can fill the gap. Yeah. I believe in young artists. Just like I believe in and try to support young entrepreneurs.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm old enough to know that these are the next generation. They are the ones who's going to build our nations.
Right.
Yeah, and they need to be encouraged. Yeah. I can't understand the industry well enough to understand why that there is a huge gap in this.
Okay.
If the galleries do not support the young artists, how then would they become famous
Well,
when they turn 30 or 40 years old?
that's very true. Today's society, when it comes to education, people do heavily rely on the papers, degree, master degree,
Yes,
a certificate and qualification, of course. Well, in that sense, we can understand it's because of the credential, but the benefits, you are acknowledged by this institution that we can, take you to this. However, there are so many other talented and skillful people out there who can actually venture themselves into certain industries. But perhaps in Malaysia particularly, there aren't many platforms for the younger generations. So this, the Artemis Art that you have established already, this is one of the good platforms for young artists. And I want to ask you that how would you sort of select young artists who are not trained education or officially?
Okay, first of all, of course, we have to look at their artworks. Okay, I still remember the evening when my husband and I went to his home, which is also his studio, to look at his works.
At that time.
Yeah, at the time. Yeah. Now he has a proper studio.
Awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, for 22-year-old. Okay, so I like most of his works, I have to say, and if you have seen his solo, you will be impressed with this 22-year-old kid who graduated in illustration.
Yes.
So that does give him the fundamental skill set. But I think a lot of times people forgot that you don't go out and just buy a beautiful piece of artwork. You want to understand the context of that artwork.
That's very true.
So it speaks beyond beauty.
Right.
Yeah. And I must emphasize that an artist at this age is extremely young, and sometimes people don't expect anything beyond a beautiful piece of artwork. But Haris has achieved beyond that. Okay, we are very impressed with what we have seen. We sold quite well for him for his first solo, and we continue to sell even after the solo exhibition. Basically the remarks from artists, from collectors and people who love art has been extremely encouraging.
Okay.
Oh, that's very good.
So that's pretty awesome for someone. I need to emphasize someone at his age. And I applaud his courage in even setting up the Mecca group at this juncture of his career. A lot of people dare not go into full-time artists because we all have to put food on the table.
Yes.
Yeah. And he barely worked. Yeah.
Yes, no.
Only for a few months, and he realized that his dream is to pursue a career as an artist. To be able to take that step is a major step in his life.
For sure.
Yeah.
Don't you get any pressure from your parents or any friends? Because being an artist, especially Asian countries, we have a lot of stereotyping thoughts there.
Yes. My mom was my art teacher in high school. So
Okay, I guess that
that helps. That definitely helps. And I'm very fortunate that I have a very supporting family.
Oh, that's
Yes,
wonderful.
yes.
Yeah.
So that plays a huge part as well.
Yes,
And,
definitely,
I just
definitely.
want to know, as an emerging artist, maybe yourself, and you probably know other artists as well.
Yes.
What is the biggest challenge that you guys are facing in Malaysia, maybe?
I think most artists challenges. I think taking themselves seriously. Having confidence in themselves.
Right.
Yes. Sometimes they are a bit too afraid to join group shows, or they think they're not ready.
I
They
see.
think they're not developed yet. I think you just have to take that first step and just have confidence in yourself. Yeah.
Okay.
And people will see it. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And moving on to UC now.
Right.
Well, Harith will be having, sorry, not Harith.
Harris.
We'll be having something on at CAFFA, of
Yes,
course, in
yeah.
your workshops. You are also conducting an exhibition for a group of artists with learning difficulties.
Yes,
Maybe you
yes,
can tell us
yeah.
a bit more about that.
So for this year's CAFFA event, Artemis is a a partner whereby we put up quite a few events during the 3 days event.
Right.
So one segment under art project, we would have 12 artists with learning difficulties. If I have the opportunity to name them,
Yeah, sure.
I have Yuri, Fitri, Yuli, Sarah, Maria, Amin, Andrew, Dennis, Janet, Jason, Hazik, and Kitandra. So these are the 12 artists, talented in their own ways with learning difficulties.
Right.
Majority of them actually are autistic children. One of them has cerebral palsy.
Okay.
So this will be Artemis' 8th show for
Okay.
children and adults with learning difficulties.
okay.
Yeah, since the birth of Artemis in 2011.
Right. And so you'll be displaying all these paintings by all these artists that you just
Yes,
mentioned.
yes.
And maybe you can also explain what are the difficulties that you're facing, because I remember you said some of them are autistic.
Yes. Well, we've always wanted to support. The first show that we had
Yeah.
for the autistic or kids with learning difficulties is back in 2012. Okay, I only had like maybe nine of them. The youngest girl, the autistic girl, she was only 7. Yeah.
Okay.
And we did quite well. We sold almost 90%
That's
of
brilliant.
the artworks that was
Oh,
on
okay.
display compared to the one that they did before in somewhere else. It used to be parents buying from each other in order
Right.
to support.
Right.
It's like a support group.
Yeah.
And then when it was exhibited in Artemis, which was more of a public space, and we invited our friends and contacts, and then the parents realized that there are other people who are keen to buy their children's work.
Very good.
I need to emphasize it is not charity. Yeah, you buy because you like them,
Right.
because you like to support, and their artworks are beautiful, and it speaks
Right.
to you in the same way like any other artist's work. Okay, and I would also like to emphasize that the reason why Artemis is doing this is we wanted to raise awareness. We realized that when we did such show, I mean, there's been 7, this is our 8th. A lot of people don't even understand what is autism. Yeah, and we take time to explain some of the traits of autism and all that. We do find that there's a lack of support structure for parents who have children with learning difficulties.
okay.
Right.
The autistic children learn in a very different format.
way.
Each and every one of them has a form of learning difficulties.
Right.
Yeah. I just wanted to raise the awareness, and like what Haris has mentioned earlier on, art is therapeutic. Okay, there is art therapy out there. Yeah, so this is a form. While some of the kids, for example, when they sometimes have a trait of ADHD, they can't focus for a very long
Yep.
time. But when they are painting, they can sit there 3 hours, 2 hours, non-stop.
So art can give a lot of benefits
Yes.
for those, especially children,
Yeah.
in terms of attention and
Yeah.
focus,
Yeah.
and perhaps to discover their, they never knew about their talents, but they can
Exactly.
discover
Yeah.
of themselves. Yeah.
I think I also read a few articles back then. I mean, I studied performing arts, and
Okay.
some of my lecturers also use performing arts to
Yes,
help the autistic kids.
Yeah.
So I guess, like you said, they learn in a different way,
Yep.
and probably they are more inclined towards arts
Yes.
and that sort of feel, and
Yeah.
that helps them to deal with their difficulties as well. But
Yes.
what prompted you to venture into this, to work with these kids and to help them out?
Call it a crazy notion. I gave up a very, very successful corporate career to start the gallery. My husband always explained to people, both of us jumped in,
Okay.
both feet blindfolded.
Right.
If you can imagine that. I think that's scary come to think of it 3.5 years later.
Yeah.
I suppose in a way it is a calling,
Okay.
to raise awareness about such, especially in autism. It's a fine line between someone you can make a difference in terms of making a better life for them, because a lot of famous people actually are born autistic.
Right.
Okay. Bill Gates has mentioned before that
Right.
he is autistic, and based on the statistics and all that tests that are available, they believe that Einstein was autistic. Yeah, so it gives you courage to think that if you are able to interfere at their younger age, you could make their life a lot better
Okay.
compared to if it's without any
Right.
interference.
And I'm curious to know about your process of working with these children. I mean, you're exhibiting their paintings, but who was the one who taught them how to paint, and how did you encourage them to come up with these products so you have something to display?
Well, the group I deal with now, I work with, they are still from fairly well-off family
Okay.
that can send them to art classes.
Right.
And I don't teach. Yeah.
Okay.
I can't even draw a straight line. Okay, but they do come from family which is quite well off.
Right.
Yeah, but money doesn't solve everything. Huh?
Right, of course.
So I do see some of the talents in some of them. In fact, out of this 12, I've given 2 solo shows to 2 of the artists who did
Oh.
quite well. Yeah, and so we don't curate the show
Right.
like I would with a more different types of artists. Yeah, so they paint whatever they like. Yeah, one of the boys, he just loves to paint animals, and he always paint animals.
Right.
Period. Yeah. So
We have something in common.
yeah, something common with Harris. But Harris is not autistic. Yeah. So you just had to let them express themselves
Right.
freely. Yeah,
Okay.
and not try to determine what they should do.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
that's true. Yeah.
And then that would have defeats the purpose, of letting them. I think we would be privileged to. I mean, if you come and see their work and know a little bit about the kids, the artists, you're privileged actually to be taken into the world that you would otherwise would not have privilege to travel to. Yeah, because they don't express themselves very well. Yeah, but they do that better visually through their artworks.
Right. Okay, that's really wonderful.
And what about the age group of these kids?
I think most of them, I always kept thinking some of them was like 15, 17, but they have grown older from since I last met them. So they're all in their early 20s.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah. Some of them will be 28, 29 this year. But
Okay.
Mostly that.
yeah,
Yeah.
around that age.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my next question would be, do you see any sort of improvement or some skills that they've picked up, or what is their?
Well, some of the
after
kids have
effect?
exhibited with me 3.5 years, 3
Yeah.
years ago. Yes, I do see improvement because they do go to art classes. Yeah. The difficulties for the parents is that the kids kind of categorize everything in life. So if you try to teach them something new, it takes a long time. Like if let's say they are used to watercolor on paper, and then you try to switch them to canvas
Right.
and oil, or to change to acrylic, then they would have this fear of moving into something, a new medium. So it will be difficult in that sense, and it takes a longer time for them to switch in that sense. Yeah. So because they are very compartmentalized, if they do this, they have a routine to follow, and then when you switch that, you really need to give them time and understanding that it takes a while for them to get used to a new routine. Yeah.
And what about in terms of personality? Were there any changes as well? In terms
well,
of them becoming more
well,
receptive?
autism is a big spectrum.
Okay.
Yeah. So some of the kids are Asperger's, so they are the higher functioning kids. Okay, so the other spectrum of autism would be those who are not. We would classify them as low functioning.
Right.
So they would need help. They can't be independent.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but you really can't judge them by the spectrum they are on, but
Okay.
rather by the work that you see. And like I said, you really have to see the artwork. Then you know how difficult it is, and you see the condition of the child. Then you realize the difficulty that he or she has to go through to even put a stroke on the canvas.
Okay. And I mean, that's great, the fact that you're helping out these kids, and I hope that the exhibition it's well received as well. And
I
maybe,
hope so too.
Yeah, I would like to go back to Haris for a while.
Yes.
How has art changed your life?
Well, it's always been what I was interested in since I was 13. Yeah, it was an outlet for me to express
Okay.
emotions or yeah. So how has it impact?
Yeah.
How has it?
Oh, what has it taught you?
Well, I think the finer things in life,
Okay.
those little things, Yeah. Maybe the roses, or it's everything. Art is like everything around you, right? Yeah, those colors in the skies. Yeah, I get more sensitive about that these days.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow, I can imagine that you're such a romantic guy. Yeah.
So we're actually almost at the end of our segment. So if we can quickly wrap things up, and maybe Haris and Yusi can both tell us where and what time is both of your workshop exhibitions, so
Okay.
people can come
Can I
watch.
maybe just do a very quick rundown?
Sure.
Sure.
So besides the exhibition show by the kids, we also have 11 photographers whose works will be exhibited in the black box. The title is called Harini Dalam My Sejarah. Okay. And then we have on Saturday, Jeffrey Lim is going to come in with his Kanta box camera, which is Afghan kind of box camera, and he will be taking portraitures, and the proceeds from the portraits will be donated to charity. And on Saturday morning, which is the official opening at 10 o'clock, we have Justin, who is a Malaysian painter. He paints with his finger, the finger painter, who will be doing a demonstration. Yeah, and we flew him in from Hong Kong actually.
Awesome.
And then we have Daddy Sufriyadi from Indonesia, who will fly in tonight, and he'll be doing his art talk. All these are in White Box. Daddy Sufriyadi recently won a Young Art Award in Taipei under Artemis when we participated in the Young Art Taipei Art
Okay.
Fair in Taipei. And then Haris will have his class, like you mentioned, on Saturday. No age limit for that.
Yes.
And then on Sunday is for kids.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Haris, and also Yusi
Thank you.
from
Thank you.
Artemis Art Gallery for being here today and enlightening us about the art project that will be happening at CAFFA 2015.